I am going to do the 6 problems from the potential energy worksheet, and that is file, what's it called? It's file number 1 in the energy and work folder. So here we go. Let's look at these problems, and let's just read one and see what we got. It says find the potential energy, so that's what we're after. We've got a 55 kilogram object. It's 9 meters above the ground, and it tells us, remember that Earth gravity is 9.8 meters per second per second. So the equation we're going to use here is the potential energy equation, and that is just mass times gravity times height. So if I just put the numbers in, mass is 55 times gravity, that was 9.8 meters per second, and then how high up is it? My height, that is 9 meters above the ground. So that's going to give me my answer. So let me get my calculator going here. Where did I put that? There it is. I said there it is. Okay, so we're going to have 55. Okay, of course, now I've got a couple calculators. Times 9.8 times 9. And I get 4851. So 4851. 4851 what? Well, you might know that energy is measured in joules, but to prove it to you with the units, let's take a look. Mass, this was kilograms. 9.8 is meters per second, and the 9 was meters. So we've got meters on top and meters by itself, so that's actually going to be kilograms meters squared per second squared. And you've already watched the energy video, I hope, and you know that this is just an abbreviation for joules. And hey, it makes a lot of sense to me to use the J here, because who wants to write this all the time? So anyway, that's one problem down, 5 to go if I decide to do them all. Find the height. So if PE equals mgh, how do I get h by itself? Well, all three of these things are multiplied, so that means you're going to do some division. If you multiply by m and g, they cancel out, and that means they're going to show up on the other side, because whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So I'm going to have my equation is the height equals the potential energy divided by mass times gravity. So my potential energy was 300 divided by, oh, I didn't even read this problem to you guys, did I? 6 kilograms, that's my mass. 300 joules, that's my potential energy. Oh, not a good color choice, but I'm going to stick with it. And then gravity is 9.8, so there's my g. So that's going to be 300 divided by 6 times 9.8. So on a calculator, all you got to do is go 300 divided by 6 divided by 9.8, and you get 5.102. I'm going to call that 5.1. Remember, if you're taking your quiz in Moodle, you'd go out 2 decimal places, but since it was 102 here, we're just going to call it 5.1. And height, well, if we look up here, we know that height is going to be in meters, but we can prove it because potential energy was joules, or kilogram meters squared per second squared, and our 6 was kilograms, so that's going to cancel out the kilograms, and the 9.8 was meters per second. That's going to get rid of both of these seconds and both of these seconds, and we've got meters squared over meters. That means one of the meters is going to cancel up here, and this one's going to cancel down here, and that leaves us with just meters. So there is our answer. Third problem. Let's see here. Find the mass. Well, that means we're going to have m equals, let's see here, 0.5 meters up, so that's the height, 4,000 joules of PE, that's the energy, and then I remind you here that gravity is 9.8. When you take the quiz, if I don't tell you the gravity, you can assume it's Earth gravity and use 9.8. If it's some other planet or moon or something, I'll tell you in the problem. But anyway, we use this same division trick. If PE equals mgh, and we want m by itself, we're going to divide by g and h, and that winds up giving us the equation that m equals PE over gh. So we're going to have 4,000 divided by 9.8 times 0.5. So then with our calculator, we're going to have 4,000 divided by 9.8 divided by 0.5, and I get 816.33. 816.33. It never fails. A couple of times every class, every year, a kid will come up to me and say, on your calculator, how did you enter this and then just divide that and divide that? Well, if you remember what your math teacher told you, PEMDAS, multiplication and division are at the same level, so it doesn't matter which one you do first. So you can multiply these two together first and you'll have a number on the bottom, and then just go 4,000 divided by that number. You can do that, or you can enter 4,000 and just divide by both the numbers. Get yourself a calculator and prove it to yourself if you don't believe me. So my mass here, we already know that mass is kilograms, but just the last time I'll prove it to you. 400 joules, I'm sorry, 4,000 joules, that was joules is kilogram meters squared per second squared, or you could write per second. And then on the bottom, the 9.8 was meters per second, and the 0.5 was meters. So we've got 2 meters here, we've got meters squared there, so that's gone, all the meters are gone. We've got second squared here and second per second, and second squared there. All we're left with is kilograms. So we're good. So there's the first 3. I'm at 6.5 minutes, so maybe I should rush, because if I go over 10, you'll be bored. Maybe you're bored now, but oh well. Let's see. Find the potential energy. That's just mass times gravity times height. So I'm just going to skip this right here, because that's kind of how I am sometimes. And I'm going to go, my mass is 0.2 times gravity, which is 9.8, times the height here is 630, and I get 1234.8. 1234.8, and energy is in joules. You can go back and look at number 1 if you want to mess with the units some more. Find the height. Well, we know that height is potential energy divided by mass times gravity. You could go back and look at number 2 if you wanted to, but all I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to put in my potential energy, and that was 50 divided by 9.8 divided by 90. Whoops. 90. So I get 0.06. And height is going to be in meters. So remember, Moodle wants you to go out 2 decimal places, so right here this would round this 5 up to a 6. Okay, last problem. Well, this one's got some scientific notation in it. Well, that's not a big deal because we're good at that. Alright, whoops. So, find the mass. So we know that mass is the potential energy divided by gravity times height. So, it's going to be our potential energy. That's going to be this number divided by gravity and the height. So I'm just going to do this on the calculator. You could refer back to number 3 if you wanted to. It looks a lot like this one. So I'm going to have 4 exp 8, that's 4 times 10 to the 8th joules, divided by my gravity, 9.8, divided by my height, which was 5,000, and I get 8163.27. So 8163.27, and mass is in kilograms. So there I am around 9 minutes. This is the worksheet. It's worksheet number 1 in the energy folder, and there you go.